Hello and welcome to the Creature Cast, the official Console Creatures podcast. I'm your host today, Steve Vegvar, and alongside me, returning. We didn't know if we could do a double one, but here he is, Dave. How the heck are you?
I'm hanging in okay, man. Yeah, I'm going to continue to say that it may not be a consistent schedule for myself, but I'm very happy that 2 times in a row we're able to sit down and chat about some video games, buddy.
Video games,
Yeah,
absolutely
big,
love it. Yeah,
big,
yeah,
big,
yeah.
cool week. Yeah,
Glad you're here. Yeah, yeah. Glad you're here. Glad you're able to jump on, even as a new father, getting back into the swing of things, getting back into the podcasting chair. But here to talk about some video games, very exciting stuff. Um, yeah, but before that, a little bit of housekeeping to go over.
yeah.
If you guys have not heard, this month we are giving away 5 pairs of tickets to the Canadian National Exhibition here in Toronto. We're also giving away an MSI Prestige 16 laptop Evo edition powered by the Intel Core Ultra. We also have a grand prize of an Intel Core i9-14900K CPU. Very exciting. In case you guys didn't know, Intel is returning to host the annual Intel Gaming Garage at the CNE. This is your chance to get a close look at some of the incredible desktops and laptops powered by Intel's chips. And we want you to get a chance to see it for yourself by winning. You and a friend can spend the day at the CNE, cruise through the Intel Gaming Garage, and grab a deep fried Oreo on your way out. To enter, head on over to Console Creatures on X or Instagram for more details on how to win each giveaway. And for those, if you're not in the GTA and you can't make it to the CNE, don't worry, you can still enter to win that laptop or the CPU. Big thanks to Intel for providing these prizes. We'll be at the Intel Gaming Garage. Actually, I've already been. I've went and checked it out. It's actually very cool. I'll talk about it in just a moment. But yeah, we'll also have some additional coverage and discussions about it over the coming episodes. Very, very exciting stuff.
Yeah, it's awesome that
Other
we get to. It's awesome that we get to
no,
partner
no,
with,
no, please, yeah.
with Intel like this, and then it's also like, again, like I said last week, like these giveaways, especially the CPU, is just like, really. Really? Ooh, I want me some CPU. It's a nice piece of hardware. Both of those things. There's the tickets, which are great for anyone that's local, and for anyone who's not. Those pieces of hardware are beauties. And
That's
if you
it.
are
Yeah.
listening to this and you're already at the X, or maybe you've won a ticket and you're at it, hello, hello for anyone that's walking around the X or on their way to and from. Hello.
Yeah, if you're listening to this on your way to the CNE to go get
Yeah.
some great food, go check out the Intel Gaming Garage. Wow, what are the odds? What are the odds
What
that this all
are the
aligned? Yeah,
odds?
Dave, I have another piece of housekeeping that I want to go over ahead of time. Fan Expo coming up this weekend, this very weekend. I'll be there. You'll be there. Very exciting
Indeed.
stuff. We get to hug it out at long last. I think it's been a while, actually, almost to the year that we've seen each other in person. Correct?
Yes, correct. It is.
Crazy, crazy. Yeah, wild stuff. I'm looking forward to it. I'm expecting like a lot of great things from the panels, the showroom floor. A lot of great celebrity guests are appearing as well. But I now finalized, got everything in order. I will be hosting a panel at Fan Expo on Saturday, August 24th at 1 p.m. at Theater 4, which is room 705. I will be hosting, let me get the official name of it. It's the panel dubbed Meet Victor Lucas and the cast of Electric Playground, the world's longest running game show. I'll be moderating and hosting the panel. It will be Victor Lucas, Marissa Roberto, and Sean Haddon, who, if you guys watched EP back in the day, Reviews on the Run, great host, great Canadian host in the gaming industry. They're coming together, kind of talking about their, memories of being on the show, talking about how, cable broadcasted game coverage worked back in the day and how very different it is. So I'm very honored and privileged to be able to kind of host that for the audience and fans.
I am super jealous, sir. Super jealous. Not only because you're going to be there on Saturday, and I will not be able to attend on Saturday, but because you're going to be among legends. Like, come on. I mean, honestly, like Vic, especially, like friend of the show, Victor Lucas.
Yep.
You guys were able to chat to him just a couple months ago on Creature Cast, but yeah, seeing the way that EP and reviews on the run and stuff has evolved over the years, and now, you know, I'm sure you guys will talk about it on Saturday, but you know, posting old episodes and sort of premiering them in a certain way, and like they're really doing stuff, and Vic is really doing stuff now that is sort of melding new and old ways of broadcasting and posting and stuff, and it's just like that you have to adapt. And I think it's cool to see how it used to be and how it's turned into what it is now, and awesome that you're able to be there and chat to the three of them and make that happen. That is going to be very exciting. I am quite jealous I won't be able to be there.
You'll be there in spirit, and that's what matters the most.
That's it.
Yeah, it'll
Yeah.
be a lot of fun. It'll be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to that, and then also, you know, just
Awesome.
looking forward to hanging out at Fan Expo.
Yes.
It should be. It's always a good time at Fan Expo, and I feel like, you know, obviously Canada doesn't get that many opportunities to have events happen, especially within the gaming space. So anytime
Yeah.
that they happen, I always look forward to the community kind of coming together and just celebrating that. So it'll be
I
fun.
agree. I
It'll be
agree.
good.
It's always fun to go just because it's a very cool event, obviously, for a lot of different fandoms, and gaming is one of them and stuff. But like, I don't know. I love going and coming home with like a piece. Like, if anyone's watching the video behind me, the piece that's behind me, a Ninja Turtles piece that I bought last year from
Yep.
a comic book artist. It's just something that you're not going to find anywhere else. Like, they make them. Some of them are prints, but some of them are also just hand drawn and sold at the show and stuff. But like, you're going to find it there. You're going to meet the artist or the writer or whatever, and you're going to be able to have like this unique piece that you can take home with you. And now this year, I have an excuse to spend money that I don't have, and I can say that it's for the kid instead. So that's great.
Yeah, just call it an investment for the
It is.
child, and you can
Yes.
get away with anything. Yep.
Anything.
Oh,
Absolutely anything.
why did you buy a $500 unboxed version of Majora's Mask? Well, it's an investment.
College is what it is. College
It's
is what
college,
it's.
yeah, it's funding their college tuition.
One word: education. Boom.
That's it, that's
Settled.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So that'll be a lot of fun. I hope that we have, you know, some stories and memories that we can go over maybe next week. But yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. Uh, Two other pieces of housekeeping. We can confirm that Creature Cast will be putting up a review of Star Wars Outlaws on August 26th. Look out for that. That's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be me, Bobby, and Court Lalonde from PlayStation Generation joining us. We'll be
Amazing.
doing a roundtable discussion and going over our in-depth thoughts. We've already put out, you know, hands-on previews and stuff like that in
Yeah.
previous episodes, but this will be more of a finalized discussion of what we think about the game that's shipping, and will be in your very hands imminently. So that will be a lot of fun. And we're also going to go over Concord as well in the coming weeks, days, and stuff like that. So that will be
Yep.
another big one for the show. But before we get into all of that, I mean, I want to hear from you, Dave. You've been playing some
Yeah.
games, doing some things. Last week we talked about Kena Bridge of Spirits. Are you still playing that? What are you doing over there?
I mean, I could continue to play it. I have finished the
Yep.
story. So last week when we
Okay.
talked about it, it was on midday Friday or so when we recorded, and by Saturday evening, I was able to get a couple short sessions in of 45 minutes here and there and stuff, and I was able to finish the story. I got to
Yep.
the final boss, and there's like 2 or 3 different stages of the boss and modes of the boss, and I think that the story, the combat at the end, the way everything wraps up, I think it wraps up quite nicely. It's a really good package, good story. I think it was fulfilling. I think it's touching towards the end. There's a lot of reasons why. I'm obviously not going to spoil that, but I do think that the game ends well. It wraps up your skills that you need to use in fights in interesting ways. The
Mhm.
set piece at the end is awesome. There's a lot of different things, again, with skills that you've learned along the way, and melds all the different sort of biomes that you've been in an interesting way. So I think it really does a good job of wrapping things up. I got a couple more achievements as I went along, as we were talking about last week. I could get a couple
Yes.
more, but I think I'm going to I think what I might do is, this is one of those games where I go through it, whether I get achievements or not, doesn't really matter. But I uninstall it, I let it sit for a year, 6 months, something like that. And I go back and I either start a new one on a higher difficulty, or I do New Game Plus on a higher difficulty. I'm probably going to do one of those
Got it.
things at some point. I did that with God of War with the first one, and that was fun. I like that. So that sort of approach is interesting to me. I think I did that with the first Spider-Man on PS3, or sorry, on
Yep.
PS4 as well. So it feels like one of those games. I enjoyed it enough. Like we said, it's beautiful. It sounds great. Characters are awesome, and because I like the way it wrapped up, I think probably I'll do like a new game plus and try to collect the rest of those rot characters and stuff like that. Because I think I got like 80% of them or something just by playing the game. So I got a decent amount of them. Yeah, I don't remember exactly how many that is, but yeah, I thought it wrapped up great. I really wanted to get to the end of it. I did, and I really enjoyed it. I still highly recommend it. So anyone who gets a chance to play it on whatever platform you're able to, I think it's definitely one of those got to play this type of action adventure game, I think. So
Yeah.
I thoroughly
Yeah, no,
enjoyed it.
I agree. I agree. I just as like an end cap to that of our
Yeah.
discussion from last week. I mean, I talked about how I was going through it and everything. Never finished it when I played it on PS5, so this is kind of my homecoming and my grand hurrah to kind of get to the credits. Still not there yet. Chipping away at it. Some other games have kind of taken priority over it, but I am making sure that I keep it on my Xbox cross media bar and knowing that, hey, you're next. I am going to come back to this. I am going to get
It
the
has
full
to be
achievement
there,
list. I'm going
otherwise
to,
it's not going to happen.
dude, once I let it go, it might as well be vaporware at that point. I might as well just uninstall it because if it's out of sight, out of mind, I don't
Yes.
remember
Yeah.
to go back to it. So I
That's what
got
it
to
is. Out
keep
of
it
sight,
there.
out of mind is a good way to put it, because like you just mentioned two huge games with Concord
Mhm.
and Star Wars. And if those are things that any of us are playing, well, we also have a game like this as well. One of those things is going to sort of start falling by the wayside a little bit. It just is what it is. That's life. That's
Unfortunately, but
how it is.
thankfully, Kina isn't really one of those games that necessitates, grinding through all the way through, making sure I don't
Yeah.
really miss a story beat. Like, it is very easy to approach. I can step away for a little bit. I just don't want to actively get myself into the same place as I did last time, where it was like, I think 4 or 5 months, and I was like, now I don't even remember how to play the game. That's the issue, is once I
That's
stop forgetting how to play the game, I can reacclimate myself to the story, reacclimate myself to my surroundings, the map and stuff like that. But once I'm like, I don't even know what to do with this puzzle at this point, that's when it's just, you
yeah.
gotta go. You gotta step away and just
Yeah.
maybe even restart the game at that point.
Yeah, which then again, now you're going to get into that same cycle, right? So then it's just going to be
I
the
hope
vicious
not. I
cycle.
hope not. Yeah,
Yeah, I hope
exactly. I
not
hope
too,
I can
because I
return
think
to it soon.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
you'll enjoy the story, the characters that pop up towards the end. Like, there's interesting stuff that they do. There's good motivations behind each of the main characters and side characters and all that, and that's important with a game that has a rich and, I would say, very unique world. Like, you have to have these characters that are supposed to like put you through it, and set pieces that are interesting. That's all there to me. I don't think it's the
Yep.
most complex game in the world, and that's a good thing. But it also tells a good story, and it's a beautiful world, and plays really tightly and everything. So I highly recommend it still. Um,
Yep.
yeah, yeah, and that's what I played until the little guy decided to completely throw us off with the worst sleep schedule he's had so far. So it's been,
Oh no. Oh
there was like
no.
4 days where he was only getting hour and a half at a time. He was sleeping at night from like 11 p.m. till 6 when he normally wakes up. So you put him down. By the time you fall asleep, you're only asleep for 45 minutes, and then he's up again. And then we did that probably like
That
4 or 5 times every night. Yeah.
that's enough to make you look yourself in the mirror and say, "Oh, Dada.
ODDADA.
Oh,
ODDADA.
Dada."
Exactly, sir. And if anyone doesn't know what we're talking about, which is fair enough, um,
Yeah.
actually, it's a perfect transition, because the reason why I went into a game like ODDADA or ODDADA, it is a indie music based game, is because I needed something that was simpler, and I needed something that had no pressure, maybe
Right.
was just a little bit more chill, the sort of like cozy game type of thing. I was like, okay, I don't really want to play like a farming sim. I don't really want to play like anything like that. I don't need to pull up Stardew or that style of game. And coincidentally enough, there was a Wholesome Games sale going on, an event going on Steam, and then a couple days later as well, also like a rhythm or music based one. So they just kind of find categories of games and they just put them together and say, hey, these are games that are on sale. Some of them are just trailers and demos and stuff that's upcoming. Some of them are being released when this event starts. And ODDADA or ODDADA is one of them. It's ODDADA. That's how it's spelled. So it's really hard to describe this game in a way, but I did try to put it into words with a review at consolecreatures.com. So you can check that out. I also put together a short video of one of the things that I created in the game to give you an idea of what it might look and sound like. But basically the gist of the game is you are given randomly procedurally generated like toys, I guess you could call them.
Okay.
And little pieces on the ground that you can assemble together in any way that you want to make sounds. And you do this 6 different times. Again, all procedurally generated. Like you will see the same sort of setup and board, like basic board every couple of times, but you also unlock new ones as you go on as well. So it's not always exactly the same. And you assemble all these together individually. And then at the end, you press play on all of them in any order that you want. And you create I think it's like a 90-second song, essentially. So there's very little instruction with this. The game starts, you have this little toy train, and then you're given like a board with these like weird looking animals or trees or a little cityscape that when you hit play, it makes all these like, bass sounds or chimes or bird noises or bass beats or anything like that. And you're like, oh, okay, what do I do with this? You're like, okay. And the game just lets you play with it. You can take as long as you want, as little as you want. You hit, okay, I like the way that sounds. On to the next one. And then it gives you another randomly generated thing. You make whatever you want. Okay, on to the next one. And then you just build 6 different points. You put them all together. And I'm going to try and press play on one of the boards of this to try, and a couple of them here to get an idea of like what it sounds like. Because it's basically, you're given these toys, these sort of like old school wooden, I guess you can call them Scandinavian looking sort of toys that you would find in a kid's store or something that you may have had when you were a kid. And the way I described it was like wooden toys or Fisher Price toys that have a hammer where you hit the different shapes and stuff.
1000%. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Whatever those
almost
things
to
are
me
called.
kind of brings me back to like those like stop motion Christmas movies, and like the toys that they would be playing with, or like Rudolph and the toys that all the elves are making. It's kind of like that, but a lot more colorful for audio listeners.
Yes, exactly. I suggest looking it up on Steam and also just checking out the video so you could actually see it in motion and everything too, and what I recorded. But I'm going to press play on it, and I'm pretty sure the sound should come through and stuff, but we'll listen to it for just a second, then I'll describe it a little bit more. Should work.
These characters are moving around right now.
So it's a very basic sound, right? Like there's not much there. But then I'm putting different pieces on the board.
Right.
And it's just making different beats and stuff, right? And then later on in this same little playthrough, I'll go to something like, let's say, this one.
Have a cat?
Oh, and I have
Stop
an ad.
scooping cat litter with Litter Robot, the highest rated self-cleaning litter box that removes it.
Yeah, we need cat litter 1000%. We're not giving them our money. We're not letting them promote here. Exactly. Let's bring it back.
So then something like this.
Oh, that's a fun sound.
And you can play around with echo, you can play around with tone, speed, all these different types of things. And then at the end, you put all these pieces together and you will get something like, let's see, I'm going to press play on it here. Where is it? You'll get something like... So, for anyone who can't see it, I have everything assembled in a line behind this little toy train. And then when I hit a button, it plays, and I can press these in any sequence that I want to create a song. Every time you do this, you're going to get something different, because every time they give you a new board and pieces to play with, they're always different. So this is sort of what I created in this one playthrough that I have the video of.
Got it. Ooh.
Okay, that's basically what it ends up saying. Stuff like that. So it's really weird, random noises. Sometimes it doesn't always work, but it doesn't matter, because you can just save it or not save it. You can start over. You'll unlock something new next time that you can play around with. It'll be a chime, or it'll be different things where you can change the speed and things like that. And that's the game. You just play around with it. And there's something about it where, like, over the course of like 10 to 15 minutes, I would say, you kind of make one of those that I just feel like, oh my God, I am actually creative. Where normally I wouldn't really think that I was. And it's just presented really simply and really well. And I think that it's, as much as I said and I said this in the review as well, there's not a lot of instruction, but it's almost like that's part of the point, is that you need to explore.
A lot of trial and error.
All trial and error. And like, there's some times where like I'll complete one of those little areas, those little boards, and be like, okay, that sounds great. 2 sections later, I go, ooh, that doesn't sound good with the one I just made. And then 2 sections after that, I go, oh, actually, this all makes sense. And you can press it in any order that you want. So you can kind of create it any way that you want. And once you do, you save it on this little cassette tape in the game. You put it in a little storage box, and you can either keep it in the game, or you can save I think it's an MP3 version of it on your computer if you want. So you can play it anytime you want, and you can keep it in your file if you don't have the game installed. It's super fun. It's super simple. I think that if you're into some sort of, music creativity, or into some sort of music game and stuff, you could do a lot worse. It looks great. It sounds great. It's easy to use. I've been playing it on Steam Deck, and I tried it a couple times on PC. It's definitely easier to play with the mouse than it is with the joysticks, but basically all you're doing is moving the left joystick and pressing A or pulling the right trigger or right shoulder button. And that's it. That's all you need. You don't really need anything else. So it's very simple. It's just fun. It's just fun. I think people should check it out. If it sounds anything like that sounds appealing to you, I would say check it out. ODDADA. Right now it's just on Steam. I'm not sure if it's going anywhere else, but indie game. 2 people made it, and I think they've done a great job. So yeah,
love that. That's really cool. I like it for its simplicity, for its minimalist style, and just kind of the out of the box absurd kind of, I don't know, concept of just creating music in this really visual and kind of like, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, because
it's so hard to describe.
They don't really they don't even really walk you through it. It's just kind of a bizarre, because the first board you're shown is kind of like, okay, I understand that. But then as time goes on, it's just like, I understand it. I just don't really, it takes a mind to really put all this stuff together. And I appreciate that.
Yeah. And you know what? I am not a musically inclined person at all.
Me neither.
And I think that's also part of the point, is that it looks like these kids' toys, and they do, the creators do say that description, that it's basically a digital kids playground in a way, toy set. And that's kind of what it feels like. I mean, that's what everything's shaped like. That's what everything looks like, and is, colorful and all that kind of stuff. But even with that, like, even though it sounds like some of the sounds can be kind of complex and stuff, if you just like got a kid to pick this up and they just kind of place things everywhere and press play and whatever, they could make something too and have fun with it. Like, it sounds like it could be complex because it's layered, but it's actually not. So it's this weird middle ground where they've had a really good balance of creating something, visually and audibly interesting, but also having that minimalistic style, like you said, mechanically and with the way it sounds too. So
Sure.
yeah, Another one I suggest people check out. I wrote a review and I was like, I got to write something about this game so people can find it. Like that was, I just
That's
bought it
cool.
on a whim. I would say even too, like if you're someone who's not sure, like whether it's demos or something like that, you want to give it a shot. You have a 2-hour time frame on Steam before you return it. I would say make a couple songs over the course of a couple hours, see how it feels to you, because you get a couple unlocks and you can do some more interesting things with it. And then just keep it if you want, or return it if it's something that you don't think that works for you. I hope it does, because I think it's something special, but I think it's worth a shot even to do that, and just experiment for a little bit. So yeah, that's been good, and it was good because I was exhausted and needed something simple. And even though I could barely see straight for a couple days, I was able to create something, which is weird.
That's huge. That's huge.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah.
Dave, typically, we don't really cover gaming news. We don't really do, we kind of focus on game reviews and kind of, reviews in progress or just overall thoughts on stuff that we're playing. This week kind of feels like an exception. It's Gamescom this week. As of the time we recorded, last night was opening night live, and now we're just getting like a landfill of just announcements, updates, reveals, all this stuff in between. I haven't really been playing anything because of the aforementioned reviews that I'm currently taking part in. That's kind of been I've just been locked in and focused on those, so I haven't really been playing anything else other than Kina earlier this week. So I just thought, hey, why don't we go over some of the announcements that really stood out to us this from opening night live, and talk about maybe some of the overall news and stuff that's coming out of Gamescom.
Yeah, there's like panels
and
things like that. There's always some interesting tidbits.
Exactly.
Obviously, we can't cover everything, but we'll pick a few things. So,
yeah.
What's the first thing that pops into mind, Steve, or that you see on a list that you feel like
I mean, obviously we don't want to go over everything, but I think opening night live, top level thoughts, just coming strong really in the front little bit there, showing off or announcing Borderlands 4 from Gearbox was something that caught my attention as a big fan of the franchise. Not much is known other than it's coming in 2025 to current gen consoles, PS5, Xbox Series, and then PC as well. The only thing that Gearbox really kind of teased was that the game would be taking place on a brand new planet. So it kind of seems like they're getting away from Pandora, which I'm very excited about.
I think that
now
makes
been quite a long time
Yeah.
of just exploring Pandora, doing stuff there. Are you a fan of Borderlands? Are you looking forward to this at all?
I am. I remember. I mean, I have this distinct feeling that this announcement was supposed to go and coincide with a popular movie release, which clearly did not happen. I feel like it was probably potentially timed around that, but I actually don't remember if the movie was pushed. I'm sure it was, but ultimately it probably ended up. They were probably hoping that it landed as well as the movie, but didn't happen. Anyways, haven't seen it. That's just word on the street sort of thing. But I am a fan of Borderlands. I have been for a while. I remember when the first one came out, I walked into a Best Buy and me and my brother were trying to find something to play together. And I saw the cover of the game and I read about it. I read about the game, like a preview, maybe even it was a review at the time. I don't recall. And going, you know what, Alex, let's try this. I'll get one copy. We'll play couch co-op for a couple hours because you're home right now and he was living away from home at the time. Let's try it out. If it seems like something, then you can buy a copy when you go down the States and we'll play something together, right? Because I hear it's online too. So let's do that. I believe this is 360 days, right? At the first one, I'm pretty sure. So we're going at least 10 years ago, right? When the first one came out. So
I think it was 2009 was the first Borderlands.
Dear God.
I know.
Okay.
I think it was 2009, 2012 was Borderlands 2, and then 2019 Borderlands 3.
Yeah. So we did that. We loved it, and we played the hell out of the first two. Like me and other friends and stuff. Those games were constant on rotation. 3 less so because we just the people that I played with were just less in sync of being able to play that. And I think just other games kind of take over. I still really enjoyed it, but I think these games really thrive off co-op. Personally because of the goofy humor, but also you can share guns and you can, whatever, for whatever reason, just really works in co-op. So I'm excited for more. I think the humor is getting a little bit tired. Maybe it's my age. Maybe it's just repetitive. Maybe it's just that. So I don't know what they're going to do with that. I think that was a huge selling point for the first couple. And I hope that lands in 4, because I remember in 3, I didn't love it. I kind of skimmed through a lot of the humor stuff and didn't really care and just wanted to play. And I have Tiny Tina's Wonderland on Steam, but I've never played it because I wanted to play it with friends. And it's just one of those things that, you know, I think I really would enjoy, because I love that character. I thought she was amazing from the base games, and just the setting of it sounds hilarious. So that I think might work for me better, but I haven't played it yet, so I can't say. What about you? Do you have like a similar story, or what's the?
So I have never played the first one. Kind of skipped over it. It was kind of one of those things that it just I've heard of it and everything, but it wasn't until the second one that I picked it up on kind of a whim. Kind of the same thing with you. I was in, you know, a GameStop or whatever at the time, and just saw the cover. I was like, oh, this looks really cool. I love the cell shaded design and everything. Picked it up, played through it, loved it. Everything was hidden for me as far as, you know, it kind of being this benchmark looter shooter. It kind of set the precedent for what this genre could be. At the time, the humor was hidden on all fronts. Pandora itself was like a really cool planet and setting to explore. I love just the commentary of the game as well. And then I played the pre-sequel, really enjoyed that as well.
Oh yeah, I played
and
that
then
too,
of
actually.
course
Yeah.
And then, of course, Tales of the Borderlands came out, and I was like, "Oh, this we've now like reached peak of what this universe, this IP can really do." And then 3 came out, and I did not like it at all. I've been pretty vocal on that as well. Just I feel like they've done a disservice to a lot of the characters in that game. I think the humor just was really infantile and just kind of just it really didn't hit it. It felt very forced and stuff like that. And I feel like it didn't really do anything to kind of evolve and keep up with what looter shooters at the time were doing. I mean, you had Destiny out, you
Right.
had The Division out, you had all these
Right.
games that were built off the backbones of looter shooters and had already started elevating and pushing that media or that like subgenre forward. And then you had Borderlands 3, which was like, hey, we're doing the same thing, but now we have more guns. And I was like, well, sure, but that doesn't really mean anything to me. I
It's
want
cool,
substance. I want
but
a great end game and stuff like that.
yeah. And that's true. It's one of those games that the end game mattered, because
Yep.
it wasn't short when you went through the quote unquote story, but like I don't want to, end game is fun because you really get all these expanded
Yeah.
weapons and area and missions and things like that. So yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think the new setting could do something, but a new setting doesn't mean that it's gonna hit on all the other levels. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. I have hopes. I hope that Gearbox now knows exactly what to focus on, how to fine tune it, and stuff like that. So that way it comes out and it
right.
kind of delivers. Because by the time 2025 arrives and this game's coming out, I mean, Take Two, the parent company of Gearbox, is already going to be competing with itself in that Grand Theft Auto 6 is coming out. So it's like
Yeah,
you
that's
you
right.
can't really miss if you're putting out one of the biggest games of all time. Like you can't
Yeah.
truncate and cannibalize your own game unless you're EA, who did that to Titanfall, and I'll never forgive you.
Yeah. Well, no one. It seems like no one will, because come on. Come on, people. Come
Right.
on.
Yeah.
The other game I want to mention briefly, because I don't know if like a lot of people are talking about this. I could be off, but I played the first one very briefly. But Warhammer 40,000, or 40K, I guess,
Interesting.
Space Marine 2. I don't know, man. I don't love trailers that are just like, here's the cinematic and hey, here's the release date. I want to see more gameplay, which we have seen in the past. Like I think last year, even at Gamescom or on the Xbox showcase, maybe is where it was. I don't know. This game just looks
Yeah.
like batshit crazy. I just want to play. It just looks like fun. Hordes and hordes of enemies, and you're these hulked up guys. I'm not a big like 40K guy by any means or any of that stuff, but it just looks like going back to like we're talking about going back to original sort of looter shooter type things with Borderlands. This feels like that era of game. It
Yep.
just looks a lot better and probably plays better, honestly, because the first one came out years ago at this point. And I picked it up on Steam I don't know, last year or 2 years ago or something like that for super cheap, and it feels a little bit dated, but it's still fun. This is just gonna.
Mhm.
I have a feeling it's just gonna be better because most 40K games are pretty good, and this just looks like a crazy third person action, you know, alien bloodfest type of. I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
I wish I really understood Warhammer 40K. It seems
Yeah.
like I know there's like Vermintide, there's so
Yes.
many, but it always feels like there's a game that's always just on the precipice of releasing, and I've never really understood when these games come out because it feels like they'll just like sneak one out and then announce another one, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's still the same one you guys have been talking about 8 years ago when there have been 8 games that have come out since. It's just one of those game or franchises that I've just never been able to like keep up
Yeah.
with, nor put the time to actively play. So I know it's a me problem, and I know a lot of people love these games. It's just I see the trailer, I'm like, that's really impressive. That looks badass as hell. And I never play it, and then it just kind of escapes me, and I'm on to the
I
next
mean,
trailer
there's
a
a
year
lot of
later.
them. Like you said, there's
Yeah.
a lot of them that come out, different styles. You know, there's RTS, there's action games like this, there's FPS
Mhm.
games. What was the last one that came out last year, the year before? That was like a squad based first person. I can't remember what that was, but again, one of those things. It's on Game Pass and stuff too. So apparently that's really good. But again, like you said, one of those ones that looks like, hey, this looks great, but maybe you got to get some friends together because it looks like it's a great co-op game, or maybe it's just not on the top of your list because it's not a universe that you're super invested in. So maybe that's part of it. But to me, it looks really
Yeah.
cool. I'm hopefully I can give it a shot. It comes out in September, so it's really close. It's been pushed a few times, so that's
Okay.
fun. Lastly, the one thing that stands out to me is because I've always said that I'm a Heroes of the Storm fan, best MOBA that anyone's ever made. Sorry, everybody, too bad. It just is. That's still up, but playing it is, you know, not quite the same as it used to be. Obviously, it's not really being
Sure.
supported. Some updates, but that's about it, and patches, but that's about it. Predecessor is a third
Yeah.
person MOBA. I don't love MOBAs, but I love third-person action games, and I love me some Heroes of the Storm. Why not meld the two together? I know it's not Blizzard. I know it's not those characters, but I'm interested because this came off of the backs of, oh my god, what was it called? Predecessor. What was the game?
I'm
Game.
not a MOBA guy whatsoever. I've played like 2 in my life, hard noped
Yeah,
out of both of them, so this
the
is
game
totally
got
out of
shut
my
down.
range.
Yeah, game. Man, what was it called? People are gonna yell. They're yelling at
I
their phones or whatever.
I I feel it. I feel the yells right now in my
Yeah,
ears.
I can feel it.
Wish I
Anyways, there
knew.
was
I wish I
another
could help you right now.
there's another third person MOBA that was out for a couple years, and this is what's coming off of that because that got shut down.
Okay.
I think it
Okay.
was Epic shut it down, but all the assets were available. So people grabbed those assets and they created this game, or at least they used some of
Oh,
those assets and they
okay.
created this game. So that's cool. And I want to give it a shot because I spent way too much time in Heroes of the Storm, and I just want to give another MOBA a shot. I'm not really willing to sink too much time into one game, but wishful thinking. Maybe it'll happen. So,
Sure. Yeah.
anything else on your radar here?
Yeah, I got 2 more that I kinda wanna talk about. One isn't even a game, and I wanna gauge your interest in this.
Okay.
It's Secret Levels, from Blur Studio. It's kind of this anthology series that's coming to, Amazon Prime Video. It's, kind of akin to the Netflix, series Love, Death, and Robots, where each one is, uh when each episode is kind of looking at a different video game property in Secret Levels. So they already talked about which games and properties are going to be in this first season. There's going to be 15 animated stories. I'll run through them right now: Armored Core, Concord, Crossfire, Dungeons and Dragons, Exodus, Honor of Kings, Mega Man, New World, Pac-Man, PlayStation as like a spotlight with various different characters, including
Mhm.
Kratos from God of War, Jin from Ghost of Tsushima. There's also going to be Sifu, Spelunky, The Outer Worlds, and Unreal Tournament. I'm very excited for this.
Well, if you say Love, Death, and Robots, that's the name of it, right? I always get the
Yes.
order of those wrong. If you say anything about those, I'm in because those are awesome.
Yeah.
Those are
Right.
so good. I've seen all of them, I think, a couple of times.
Mhm.
we'll throw them on every once in a while. I think one of the best things Netflix has ever done is
I
make those
agree.
make that anthology, and then you go back every
Yep.
once in a while. I think there's 2 or 3 of like those 3 robot buddies. Hilarious.
Yep.
Those guys are the best. Um,
Yep.
so if it's anything like that, which it could be, it doesn't mean that it has to be exactly like it, but that type of idea and bringing in some recognizable characters, I think can be good. I kind of like not knowing anything about what I'm going to watch when it comes to the
Mhm.
Love, Death, and Robots thing. I can like that everything is vastly different from the one previous and the one after. I do think that that is a selling point in my mind, but
Right.
not a problem to have something that's recognizable. And if you do something different with it, if that's what they're allowed to do here, then I'm even more interested. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
No,
in.
I totally agree. I do think that for something like Love, Death, and Robots, that it's a brand new kind of IP. Is all the creative endeavors are on the studio's hands. They're the ones coming up with the character designs, the story, and everything. There's a little bit of excitement going into each episode and be like, well, what are they going to do? How are they going to approach this futuristic setting with robots and stuff like that? Is
Mhm.
it going to be violent? Is it going to be kind of heartfelt? Is it going to be light in tone? Is it going to be dark?
The art
Here, we already
styles, like,
have
was it
the art
like,
style
those
too.
are
Yep.
so different in the other ones. I love that, like, some stuff looks like it's a mix between stop
Yep.
motion and CG and real life. Like, it's just anyways, I love that stuff, so
Yeah. Here, I do agree with you that I think that some of that surprise or some of that precedence gets taken away when hey, episode 3 is going to be Armored Core. You kind of already
yeah,
have it in your head, like, okay, I know what Armored Core is. I have an understanding of that universe. So you take
yeah.
one layer of that away, unfortunately. But that being said, you still have like, how are they going to approach the animation? How are they going to approach the acting,
Mhm.
the story, everything like that? So I think that that's very interesting. The other thing that I think is really smart on behalf of this show is that it takes a lot of the risk out of creating a adaptation out of any of these properties. Like, no way in hell would you
Oh,
ever really get a full production, a full series, or a movie based on Mega Man. Like, in what world, unless you're, like a Paramount that's doing something like Sonic, for instance, which
right.
feels kind of safe, Sifu would never get a bona fide adaptation. The Outer Worlds would never get an adaptation. So I like this concept of, okay, we're going to do a dedicated one episode. And hey, maybe this is even just a testing bed to see like Amazon
Yes.
being like, oh shit, you know, um, I'm going through them again. Let's go back to just Armor Core. Oh shit, Armor Core popped off. People really like this. We'll give it a full series.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah, yeah,
invest the money
exactly,
into
'cause
that. I think that's awesome.
yeah, because these are the types of things that if they are looking to do that, or this is some sort of testing ground type of thing, which it doesn't have to be, but if it ends up being that,
No.
great. Um, then it just like Fallout, although Fallout was a full season, it exposes people to it that have no idea what something like Armored Core is. My wife had
Yeah.
no idea what Fallout was. I think maybe the last time we talked about it on the show when I was watching it, we made it 2 episodes in, and she was like, it's not really my thing. I watched 2 more on my own because I wanted to keep going. And I was like, I think you're gonna like where this is going. Because to me, that show got better as it went along. Like I
Yep.
thoroughly enjoyed the second half more than I did the first. And then when she picked it back up in episode, I want to say 5, maybe it was halfway through 4, whatever it was. She was like, "Oh yeah, you're right. I do like this," and she really enjoyed it. And she liked the way that wrapped up and sort of where the characters went, the flashbacks, those types of things. That you could expand and do something like that if these episodes pop off, like you said. And I think that's cool, recognizable, original, whatever it is, great. More awesome stuff is more awesome stuff, regardless of where it comes from. So
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I think the other really cool thing too is that with that PlayStation episode specifically, it almost I know this is going to sound like really silly and everything, but it almost serves as like this high production commercial where it is PlayStation, here's all your characters, in a sandbox or whatever, play with them like they're action figures and just expose a whole new
yeah,
audience to Kratos, Jin, like everyone, like the list can go on and on. And then all of a sudden people are watching this for, half an hour, 40 minutes, however long the episode is, and just say, well, I really like this character. I'm going to look more into it. and all of a sudden, that gets them to say like, okay, well now maybe I'm gonna buy a PS5, maybe I'm gonna go to my PC and buy God of War. Who knows?
Yep.
I think that's a really cool concept, and maybe even in a season 2, Xbox does it. Maybe a Nintendo, maybe even just like you get like a Capcom or something like that behind it, and just say, listen, you can have, a la carte, like whatever characters you want, just play with them, come up with a really cool concept and sell us on it, and you can have whatever you want. I think that's a really cool idea.
I mean, I know that they're making a Yakuza show that's out quite soon,
Yep.
I think, or something.
Yep.
I know that franchise is huge. It's not my thing or whatever, but I know that if they did something like that in this style, it would also be huge. Probably a little too late for that, but that's the first thing that comes in mind. It's like, oh, you said Capcom and whatever. I said, oh, what about Sega? Sega could do a lot of cool stuff.
Yep.
Doesn't have to be Sonic. They have lots of cool properties that they've done great things with over the last few years. Why not do something crazy? Like it does open a door for possibilities, even if it does stay as like a PlayStation focused thing for, let's say, half of the episodes. If this continues, that's cool. Lots of stuff to play with. Put Crash in there. Sure. Give him a couple of goofy episodes. All for it. Like
exactly. Yeah. I'm down with this idea. It comes to Prime.
Returnal. I want to see Returnal.
Yo, that would rip. That would be so good. Holy shit. Yeah.
With how dark and crazy the Love, Death, and Robots stuff gets. If you did a Returnal, oh my God. I love that game. That'd be so good. Yeah. Anyways, more people.
That would be real. And again, giving it that kind of short spin to it, like of just like the self-contained episode, that's a perfect way to kind of show like new audiences what Returnal is, versus how do we make Returnal this roguelike that has like a very loose or kind of arbitrary story.
Yeah,
you can't make that a movie, you can't make that a series. It's very hard to kind of visualize what a roguelike would be in that vein. So I think having it as this episode, you're kind of like in this like nightmarish Groundhog's Day, that would be super cool for 40 minutes.
You start and end with like one of those house sequences.
Yep.
I'm in.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm in. Even if I know what it is, I'm in. Like
yep.
Like
so that comes out really soon too.
Yeah.
December 10th on Prime Video. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. And then the last kind of announcement that I wanted to talk about, and then it kind of leads into just a final kind of piece of news that we can talk about before wrapping things up, is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. We finally got a release date for it, December 6th. It's coming to Xbox Series consoles and PC. And then they ended their, whole like spotlight with a stinger that, yes, it is coming to PlayStation 5 in spring 2025. So it looks like we're going to get a little bit of window of exclusivity, whether it's, 3 months, 4 months. I'm wagering probably 6 months. If I had to guess, probably like May 2025 feels right to me. A 6-month exclusivity window just kind of fits with this new kind of Xbox MO with bringing certain games over to PlayStation and Switch to a certain extent with, Pentiment and Sea of Thieves and Hi-Fi Rush in certain circumstances. But are you at all interested in Indiana Jones? Are you looking forward to playing it? Are you going to hold out for a PlayStation release? Where are you at with this game?
I mean, at the end of the day, I don't care where the game is as long as more people can play good games. So to me, that's my stance on all this kind of stuff, is that. So where I play it might just depend on how busy we are with the kid, and I'll just play it wherever it is, and that's it, right? I'm inclined to be like, oh, I'll sub back into Game Pass, and I'll probably play it there. It's just my guess, and I'll probably see if it's on PC or console, whatever I'm sort of able to access at the moment more easily and stuff. I love Indiana Jones. Like, the more I think about the two iconic franchises that I grew up with, like with Star Wars and Indiana Jones with Harrison Ford in it. Star Wars is a universe I absolutely love. And every time I think about either Solo or Indy, I'm thinking both great characters. I grew up thinking, Han Solo is the coolest, like he's the best, right? But I think Indiana Jones is like one of the best characters ever. Like he's just he's just the best, right? And Harrison Ford is perfect for it. I know this isn't Harrison Ford, this isn't a movie, but like, so put me in that world, let me play as Indy, I'm in. I still think, I feel like we may have talked about this when it first, like me and Court did watched the announcement of it, I think, or at least the second, showing of it or something, thinking, oh, this looks cool. Oh, we kind of wish it was in third person. And I still feel that way.
Oh, got it.
I still feel like I want to see Indy. I want to see his coat, his hat, the whip, all that. I know sometimes the camera pulls out, it looks like. That's fine. It's not going to stop me from playing this game and hopefully enjoying it, but I'm just more in the mode of enjoying third-person action games at this point for whatever reason than I am for first-person ones. But I'm in.
Sure.
I'm in to play this. It looks good. It looks like it's got the personality that it needs, which is exactly what Indiana Jones is all about, and some cool puzzles and stuff. Works for me. And then as far as this coming to PlayStation, I know it sounds like it's a massive deal and everything. I just think it's a good thing. I don't care. I really don't care what console or what hardware you want to play it on, people. Like, if you bleed green or you bleed white and blue or whatever the PlayStation color would be, fine. But now everyone gets to play this. So what's the problem? That's my stance. Like, I don't know.
I feel like you are a normal person in regards to the whole
I'm glad
port
someone
situation.
thinks so.
I mean, I feel like we go through this time and time again. Anytime now, sadly, there's a new Xbox game being talked about. People are obviously like, oh, when's it coming to PlayStation and stuff like that. I'm kind of bored and tired of this conversation, only because you can just play games wherever you want to. You really don't have to idolize a piece of hardware, a company, a CEO, even with Phil Spencer. As much as, I think he means well, and he, feels like the everyman of the gaming industry. That's fine and everything, but he's still a businessman. He's still trying to, make Satya happy, trying to, fulfill Xbox's goals and stuff like that. So I think there's just a separation that needs to be done between these companies and you. They're not your friends. And I understand looking back at like 5 years ago with the Xbox ecosystem and saying, hey, we have our closed off, walled off garden.
Yeah.
But long are the days of, the Tomb Raider, the second Tomb Raider. It's not Rise. No, it's not Rise of the Tomb. I forget which one, but the one, Shadow. No. Shadow was the third one.
I think so.
Rise of the Tomb Raider.
I believe it's Rise is the second
okay.
one.
Yeah. When Xbox had that exclusivity right for it at launch and everything, and people were so up in arms. They're like, oh, boo, Xbox for nabbing this exclusivity. And now people are like, well, it shouldn't be. It should be the other way around. Xbox should have its exclusives. Everyone should have their walled gardens. It's like, guys, that's not how the business goes. We're already seeing the console market is not expanding in any meaningful way. It's still selling very well, but that's only selling within the people who already purchased a console at some point in their life. It's not blowing up. People aren't buying consoles left, right, and center like all these companies hope they would. So to sustain themselves, you see all these major publishers now expanding off their own ecosystem. Whether you look at Helldivers coming to PC day and date, or Concord coming to PC day and date. I mean, the only one that's really sticking to their guns is Nintendo, and they rightfully can, because they're just a major success. But that being said, they're also expanding into multimedia. They have a park. They have movies coming out. We're in such a different world and ecosystem now. The other thing to consider is that these deals that Microsoft has made with Nintendo and Lucasfilm, they're not cheap. They're always shifting. They're always moving. The expectation for Indiana Jones to sell really, really well is high, as we've seen, with Spider-Man, with Insomniac. Disney has very high expectations of how much these games will sell. And if Microsoft is looking at their console sales, their Xbox Game Pass subscriptions, and they're saying, we might not be able to hit our targets, well, the only other option is to then go to PlayStation and say, we'll put the port there, we'll get those numbers. And Microsoft's just laughing with, hitting their targets. And I think at the end of the day, that's totally fine. I'll be there day one. I'll be there playing this in December. And if I like it a lot, I might replay it down the road on PlayStation just to get the trophy and stuff like that. But I also think that we're complaining a lot for absolutely no reason, because 6 months exclusivity is really nothing when Xbox still doesn't have Final Fantasy VII Remake. If you guys really, really want to moan and complain about PC, exclusivity,
right? Or no, sorry.
Yeah.
They don't have the new one. They don't have the new one.
The new one, yeah, 16, which was at a certain there was a moment that was rumored that one was gonna come to Xbox as well as the PC port. That didn't happen. So if we really want to be complaining about exclusivity, it should be across the board. It should be ubiquitous. We should be getting mad at everyone and everything for not just being, all across the board. If not, well, then I don't think that there's a conversation to be had. I'm looking forward to Indiana Jones just playing on my preferred platform. And for PlayStation players, you should just be happy that it's coming over and you don't have to play on an Xbox or go to your PC.
Yeah,
I don't see the problem. I don't.
Yeah, if you only have one console and it's coming to the console you have, awesome, even better, right? Or PC or whatever. I want to find the quote about sort of how this is sort of working and why this might be.
Yes, please.
That,
and because after this. As you look that
Spencer,
up, I'll just kind of set it up. Yes, Phil Spencer was on the panel.
So he talked about this. He addressed it. It's pretty short. It's only like 2-3 minutes that he talked about it. You can find the video and quick quotes and article at Console Creatures. But one of the things he said was one, actually, interestingly enough, he doesn't provide any sort of hard numbers or anything, but he does say that the player base across the board for Xbox is going up. Whether that's the case or not, or how much it's going up, I don't know. Whatever. Not really the big point to go home, but he does say, quote, "We just have to anticipate there's going to be more change in how some of the traditional ways games are built and distributed. That's going to change. The end result has to be better games that more people can play." So it doesn't say that more stuff is going to go to other platforms, but the tone that he uses, which again, you can watch the video that he uses, the way that he talks about it. Yes, he's also trying to sell. Yes, he's also Mr. Xbox boss. You have to sort of read between the lines a little bit. He is also a marketing guy. It's part of his job, but it sounds like this is not just like we thought last year. It doesn't seem like this is where it's going to end. Really doesn't sound like this is where it's going to end. So some other exclusives, whether it's Starfield or something like that, will likely go to other platforms at some point. And that's just seems to be the trend that Xbox is going to go with. And hopefully between them and what PlayStation did, like you mentioned, like they have games on PC and everything now as well. Like we just mentioned Returnal, that's on PC. Kena is now on other platforms. Like all those things, great, more people can play them. So it sounds like what we heard 4 or 5 years ago, or as the series consoles were coming out, that Xbox just is focusing on more people can play these games and that's it. It sounds like that is still there, even though we may have lost some of that good faith in them based on a bunch of layoffs and sort of how things have been, working since they, merged with Activision Blizzard. Like it's all very muddy and it's not perfect, but it does sound like some of this stuff is still the same messaging underneath. Hopefully that it follows through, and hopefully they don't start cutting jobs when they do it. That's really what I hope anyway. But it's still a business. It's still lots of money. It's still Microsoft. Xbox is still Microsoft, guys. Like it's still, there's still Excel, there's still Office, there's still Azure. It's not just Xbox. Teams. As much as everybody loves Teams, it's still that. So LinkedIn, it's still Microsoft.
Wait, Microsoft owns LinkedIn?
Don't they? Or am I thinking of something else? I thought they did. Now let's look it up. LinkedIn, Microsoft.
This is going to blow my mind if they do.
I thought they did.
Microsoft I don't think
LinkedIn.
So. Wait.
Huh?
They did? No.
So.
You're right. Parent organization, Microsoft. Wow. This is blowing my mind. I had no idea. This was
The things you know. Well, the more you know. Bing.
They acquired Call of Duty, Activision, and LinkedIn. That's what they're good at. Yeah.
The trifecta that everybody wants, right?
Who doesn't want a professional social media feed like LinkedIn?
Right.
Yeah. But no, I couldn't have said it better myself, Dave. I think that a lot's changing, a lot's shifting, but Microsoft will be okay. Xbox players will be okay as long as they maintain the ecosystem. I think that's what's most important. And then at the end of the day, if you're really unhappy with Xbox, just I hate to say it, but like you could just migrate to a different piece of hardware. I mean, I know that was working out of the assumption that everyone has the disposable income to just up and go, but I'm just saying that upon the next generation, or once the PS5 Pro and the next series, or the next upgraded Xbox comes out, that's a good way of just to reevaluate where your purchases go, and
Yep.
vote with your wallet, as I always say. That's the way to really kind of put a stamp on how you feel
Send the
about these
message,
companies and
things
how
like that.
exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Dave, as we start to wrap up, where can people keep up with you online and everything else that's going on in your life?
Yeah, well, my life is very much playing as whatever games I can while my son falls asleep in my lap or on my chest at odd hours of the day. But if you want to find me online, consolecreatures.com. Still writing some reviews and some articles here and there, slowly but surely. Hopefully, you'll see and hear my voice and my lovely face on this podcast more and more. You might see me at Fan Expo in a couple days. On Friday, we'll be walking around the floor. Hoping to get to the C&E at some point. Again, tough to do with the kid, but every once in a while, it's worth a shot. And online at Dave Petro, right across the board.
Very cool. You can find me on virtually every social media platform at svigvari. And don't forget, we're giving away 5 pairs of tickets to the CNE in Toronto alongside an MSI Prestige 16 laptop Evo edition with an Intel Core Ultra and an Intel Core i9-14900K CPU. Head on over to @ConsoleCreatures on X or Instagram for more details on how you can win. That's about it for this episode. Like I said, we're going to have our Star Wars Outlaws review coming out soon, so keep an eye out on that on August 26th. Other than that, we appreciate you all for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye.